Imagine, if you will, sitting down to your morning coffee, turning on your home computer to read the day's newspaper. Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem.
Yo, it's your boy Zeta Don, and we back at it again with another episode of Inspired Empire Podcast. Today we got my friend Graham Smith, who is the CFO of Empire Styles Barbershop and Salon. Let's go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. I'm originally from Louisiana. Moved out here to Utah when I was 11 years old. Spent several years out here. My parents split up, and when I was a freshman in high school, I actually went to about 10 different high schools, including Sylvan Learning Center. Shout out to you guys for that half of a credit. And so then I came back out to Utah, spent about 10 years out here, married my high school sweetheart, and we were married for about 6 years, together for 8 years, and then we split up, moved to Texas, and Greg and I started working on what was Empire Styles Barbershop at the time. We had a mobile barbershop, and basically it's just an RV that you gut out, and you put barber chairs in there. It's got a wash station in there, and so we're mobile. We can go to people, and that was kind of the initial concept. And then we later kind of transitioned into this new business model and this new concept, which is where we're at today, Empire Style. We just opened up about 4 months ago, and we also brought Raphael on to help with a lot of our sales and customer relationships and things of that nature. So he's been a great addition to our team as well. But yeah, just here, man, trying to be ready for every possible moment, and just continuing to breathe life into this thing and breathe new energy and find ways to continue to evolve and grow in every aspect. And so that's where we're at, just growth,
First of all, I just want to thank you guys for giving me the platform to be able to do this in the shop, for first and foremost.
I wouldn't want anything else, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I know you said you were married, and that's a coincidence because today we're going to talk about relationships. So I know you said you were married at a young age. I'm guessing you were part of the church, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in the LDS church. I was born into the religion. My parents were converted. At a younger age, my dad's dad introduced my family kind of to the church, and the missionaries found them, and I just remember this moment kind of vividly in my mind of when my mom told me of how she came to know that the church was true. And there was somebody at their house, I think in the Elders Quorum presidency, or he was the Elders Quorum president. People that are in the church will know what I'm talking about. But he was sitting there talking to him one day, and he drew, I think, 3 circles or something like that, and it represented like the 3 kingdoms of glory. And he basically told my mom, if you get married in the temple and like seal your family together, that's how you can keep your family together for eternity. And so you can imagine that impactful moment in a young woman's life who has gone through a lot of her own struggles and trials and things growing up, and to hear this new beam of hope that she can be with her family for eternity if she's married in the temple and she lives a worthy life. And so now as I come full circle, I've since gravitated away from the church, and I even got a mission call to Washington.
To where?
Yeah,
Oh,
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, and so I didn't end up going and whatever. And so it's just I've now since gravitated away from the church, but I do often think back on that moment with my own kids, and that's something that I consider is just wow. That might be my greatest fear of like losing my kids.
So do you feel like that had a part of you getting married at a young age?
I think that the influence of the church, yes, because we had sexual relationships or relations outside of marriage, which is looked down upon, and I kind of felt like because I didn't live up to the standard of going on a mission that I was now revered as a failure. And so I think, okay, my way to bounce back from this is I marry this woman and then I get her to marry me in the temple, and we live happily ever after because now I've set my life back on the right course.
So how old were you when you got married?
20. She was 19.
Mm. So like as far as you being married, because I can't even imagine like what trials and tribulations did you have at a young age? Because that's a big thing. Because half the time we don't even know ourselves. So how did that make you feel?
Yeah, that's it right there, bro. You come to realize that you quickly realize when this is happening, when friction's happening between somebody that you're trying to coexist with. You're going, yeah, I have to figure out who I am pretty quick. And I think in the beginning we just had those frictions of like trying to figure out who we were, and then also learning how to deal with our own life's traumas and circumstances of things that people now know as like mental health, and facing and going to a therapist and analyzing yourself and going, okay, well, I've tried this thing over and over and over and over again, and I'm continuously getting the same result. So maybe I should try something different. That seems to be the logical thing, and to face your fear, your greatest fears, and to overcome them,
Right. So like when you did this, you were 20. I know you went to college. Like, did she go with you, or like how did that work?
Yeah. So we got married. We quickly, a couple months later, went to Dixie State, where I walked on to play football there. And so we were in this, little college town she was away from her parents for the first time and stuff. And we didn't have good communication at all. And I think that that's one thing that we learned, throughout the beginning is like, wow, you have to be able to consistently be able to communicate with your partner, someone who's sleeping next to you every night. You have to find resolve. You have to find peace within each other. You have to come home, and that can be a safe space for both of you. And I don't think that was really always the case with us, we each had our reasons that we poured into that. And so, we went to a therapist, and it really changed the way that we communicated, and it was a lot more effective. But I think ultimately, we didn't really find true love within each other at the end of the day. And I think that ultimately pulled us apart. And for me, I can say that it set me on a path that would change my life for eternity.
Right. So I mean, what was that factor when you guys were apart? Like what were you thinking on the inside?
When we separated?
Yeah, when you separated.
I think I was just in complete turmoil on the inside because my entire being was fighting with me that this is what's happening here. This can't happen. This is not right. Everybody is going to think this way of us and and all these pressures of the world. And we have 2 kids together, and you go, that is going to change your life forever,
Because, like, in a way, it makes you feel like, dang, I kind of did this to my kids. Now what are my kids going to go through, right?
Yeah, exactly. And how do you manage that? And how do you manage that relationship and the balance and the back and forth? And, it's a lot.
Before we get into this, I actually want to ask you, what is your definition of love? That's a big question, I know.
Yeah, I don't know if I can really say that for me I've ever gone, this is the person for me for the rest of my life, undoubtedly. And so I think love becomes just, I don't think you just find it in monogamy. I think I've learned to put certain aspects of love or certain pieces of me, they reside within the people that I trust the most. Gregory is one of those people who, there are several aspects of me that I can put within his trust and in his hands like nobody else that I could do that with. My father, and there's a few other people in my life that I go, you can hold this with you and I can trust you with this vulnerability. And it's a trust. It's a ultimate bond and faith between each other.
Right. Because the reason why I ask you that is because in today's society, you know how it was from back then, how couples would stay together. And now a lot of couples don't stay together as long, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as your definition of love in a relationship, what do you think that is? Other than friends and family, what do you think that is? Because a lot of people don't know. I don't even know. I have my own thoughts on what I think love is.
I want to hear your perspective on this. First.
I know a lot of people have different ways of showing love and thinking they know what love is, but I've come to the realization that love is unconditionalness. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh well, I can't live without you. That that's kind of 2 different types of love. It could either be a good thing or a toxic thing.
Yeah.
Because I can't live without you, but if we break up, I don't want to see you with another person. Yeah. There's that.
Yeah.
But if you love somebody unconditional, you have to be able to acknowledge maybe we aren't good for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to be that person, because if you love them that much, you're okay with seeing them with another person. It hurts, but that's the best thing for you and that person.
Yeah. I think you have to be deeply honest with yourself, within the realm of trust.
Mm-hmm.
That means trusting yourself and your gut and your instincts,
right,
and trusting that you are going to try to not react emotionally, but respond analytically.
Right.
You have to separate emotion from logic. And I find a lot of people and a lot of my friends and people that I'm trying to help, and I go, you're pouring so much attention into these other things without looking at first where it came from. Why do I want to be rich? Why do I want to be famous? Why do I want to be a professional athlete? And is it because I actually want to be famous? Maybe I don't even like playing sports, but that's the way that I see that I can be famous. But you haven't asked yourself enough to really know what it is that you want. And so you're tugging and pulling against a person who also doesn't know what they want. Something's got to be consistent, and the only thing that you can guarantee consistency from is yourself.
I mean, just my opinion as far as love goes, I feel from back in the day, because I know a lot of people judge back in the day's relationships. That's what they want today. But back in the day, they didn't have social media and they didn't have likes. They didn't care what other people thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Today, people have those. Social media has created a bunch of insecurities for people. If you think about it, including in relationships, whether they're single, it doesn't matter.
What? Yeah. Why do you think that? So, what is it about social media that brought that about? Because I agree with you.
People are looking for validation from other people instead of, so like it turns into, well, why are you liking this person's picture if you don't like them? You know, it turns into certain things like that. Well, I didn't get this many likes, I must not be this pretty. You know, like stuff like that. I feel like
you're putting like your self-worth into this instant gratification thing.
It's also turned it into, they want to be like celebrities or something like that. Well, they do this in their relationship. Why can't we do that? Instead of your relationship being its own, other people are trying to turn it into something on the internet. Which I don't think is healthy.
Yeah,
I don't believe it is.
I agree, and I even think that across the board there are just parameters put on relationships and what they can be and what they can mean, and these people, if they say these words and they call themselves boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife and they sign this paper,
right,
they have to be this thing and hold this standard. What?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What? Why?
Exactly.
You know, it's your happiness, it's your peace, and that cannot be defined by an outside source.
Right. The reason why I asked you what your definition of love is, because I know you were married. As far as you being married, did you know what love was? Because like you said, you didn't know yourself at that point.
No.
So it was basically the church, and you felt like that's what the church said. This is basically how I make things right.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that affect you down the line with other relationships?
Oh yeah, it made it and makes it hard. You know, I still don't. It's not easy for me to be in a relationship with somebody. It's not easy for me to be monogamous with somebody. And even if I find myself like wanting that, there's this other part of me that tugs and pulls and said, nah, like don't overcommit. You know, you are still a vastly ever-changing being who's not going to stop changing. And I'm not going to commit the rest of my life to something that I can't guarantee that same process, or that same process is going to continue our alignment. You know?
I feel like when we commit to others, most people just want it to work really bad, and they take the self-love out of it. They forget about themselves. You know, you might want it to work so bad because, like I said, you're seeking validation. Oh, now I'm going to look stupid. I posted this person all over this. Or, you know what I'm saying? Well, what is my family going to think? You know?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that played a part?
Oh, yeah. Like, what is my family going to think? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that played the biggest part, because oftentimes you, all the time, you get hurt the most by the people that you care about the most, the closest ones to you, because they're the only ones that can hurt you like that. You know, and that's why I say love is trust. It's undeniable, vulnerable understanding, and that really anything that you can say, you can trust that I will care for that, you know? So it just translates to me. It's the overall theme becomes trust.
Right. When you got out of your marriage, how hard was it for you to transition?
To like what?
To be single. How hard was that for you?
I mean, at first I just kind of like ran into it because I had never been out on my own, like outside of a relationship, just doing what I wanted to do. I was always kind of tied to the church or tied to a woman. And so at all times I felt this need to live this standard of like worthiness and not be sexual. But I kind of started experimenting and doing my thing. But I just pretty quickly found that it was just me trying to latch onto things to keep me from.
Pretty much like distract you.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever had a relationship to where you didn't want to let go of it?
Yes.
How did that affect you?
It makes me question things to this day. It was very short term. It was right in the thick of my downfall, and just this woman who I had probably couldn't have dreamt up thinking of someone that I like was physically attracted to more. Like just very drawn to her, and she was intellectual, said the right things, did the right things. But, I was also just like latching onto things too, so I don't know what it was.
Do you feel like it was just like, well, I had my first marriage and I don't want to feel that again, or was it just like you don't want to feel like you failed a relationship again? Like, do you think that plays a part? Because honestly, I've been there before.
I I think maybe for me it's like wondering, you are always wondering exactly what is love, and is there this overwhelming feeling of just desire and passion and draw between two beings.
Because like my biggest thing was I ran into, okay, they said that relationships are gonna have problems, so maybe this is just one of the things I need to work through. But those things keep happening, and you keep saying the same thing, and you might mess up. You have to change right then and there, and the other person just keeps messing up, and then it's just like a cycle of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like in any of those terms, like it's okay to be like, all right, this is not healthy?
Yes, there is an exact time to do it, and that's when you've tried something over and over and over and over again, and it's yielding the same result. And so you have to say, in order for something to be different, I have to do something different, because this shit ain't working. And my peace is being sacrificed for your insecurities, for the traumas and the aspects of yourself that you have not dealt with. And I am not in the business of fixing my life partner for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. Maybe that's someone else's ministry, but I am seeking only someone who is going to do everything that they can to make me more, because I'm going to do the same thing for them. When I got it, you got it. So, you know what I mean? And those people don't come easy.
They don't, because that's like what I said, it's just like the self-love thing. I feel like there's people that can't do that because they're like, man, I worked so hard on this relationship and I can't believe I'm about to lose it, but they're forgetting about themselves. And when we were talking off the air, you were sharing something with me. I was kind of hoping you'd share it with our fans here, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, well, just that quote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just say one of the biggest things that helped me transition into letting go of my old relationship, and even though there was, separating paths and all these kind of things, and there's hard feelings and there's all, unresolved, you still have this almost like heartbreak and yearning to want to make it come back together. And so when you're struggling to let somebody else go or let go of an old situation, this moment like really just transformed that aspect of my life. And it was a quote that said, "Your ex didn't find someone better than you, they found someone better for them than you." And for me, that just completely changed the trajectory of my life and being able to learn to let go of situations that I have no control over, and that I have to start to set my life in a way where I do take control and I do take power of my destiny, my insecurities, my flaws and weaknesses. I take accountability. If I'm just a man of words and I don't know how to back it up, well, guess what? Those words are empty. And so I learned to become a man of action. And so, you know, before you can really become an owner, I guess I always say this, people want to become the CEO of a company, but they don't want to become the CEO of their own life. And that's something that I live by and that I stand by, and I feel like it's just a certified and true sentiment that you can talk the game, but how do you walk it, bro? You know, do you really take the steps that are demanded of you to choose a different path, to choose growth, and to choose something that is not going to be easy, but in the end, it's all worth it? You know, how do you win at life? Right. This is my eternal business plan. I am building this in a way that if this business continues to grow, I can do anything and everything that is needed. You know, renewable resources, renewable energy, finding ways to make life work for itself and become in harmony with nature again, I think is paramount. And so, you know, we're sitting in here at Empire Style, the hair salon, but do you really think that this is where the buck stops?
Hell no. No.
Hell no. I'm here to run this shit, you know, and really make sure that all my brothers eat. Right. Not one of them will not have an LLC next to their name. And that's on everything. Anybody who wants this can get it. Because we're all going to eat. You know, that's the fruit of my life. And, you know, when I met Greg in a place of darkness in my life, he really just propelled me to remaster my existence, you know. And I've just waited to let this thing release and let this gift that God has given us on the grace of hard work and a relentless pursuit, that you can master your ship. And you can change your world if you so choose to be any character that you want to be and to be anything that you would like in any given moment's notice. And that is your choice. And that's real freedom.
I feel you, bro. Man, that was powerful. I appreciate you coming on, bro, and being vulnerable like that, because that's what this is about. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that's about. I appreciate that. But we gonna end the segment right there. Everybody show Empire Style some love. Show Empire Style some love, for real. Hey, I'll
peace,
see you guys
man.
next week. Church.
Make peace popular.